context with that. So I would now like to introduce the next agenda point, which is tools and guidelines for the transition to circularity. We're involved in several EU-funded projects that provide these tools to be used by companies. It's tools that are also very closely linked to our advocacy activities. And in the interest of time, I will simply give the floor to Georgia to start with. And then Max and Julio will give you a short report as well. Thanks.
Okay. So, yes, thank you, Nicole. And I will briefly introduce you the FurnCIRCLE project. It is a project that Federlegno Arredo is implementing together with EFIC and Ambit, and it is about promoting circularity in the furniture sector in Europe. And I wanted to introduce you to the blueprint for take-back activities in the furniture sector, because there are many important outcomes that you can find on the website, but I want to focus in particular on this blueprint that you can find and download by following the QR code that you can see on the slide. And this blueprint is about the take-back scheme. It's about supporting the companies in implementing a take-back scheme. What do we mean with take-back? Take-back is the practice to allow consumers to bring back the unwanted or old products. And what has this take-back to do with the concept of circularity? It extends the lifespan of the products, so it avoids the production of new products and thus conserving the resources, and also it reduces the waste. So in this guide you will find some tips on how to set up and implement a take-back scheme in your company. It is divided in 3 main chapters. The first one is within the companies. What do you have to do to implement this practice? For example, which kind of skills do you need to provide to your workers and managers? And the second one is about the productive and social ecosystem, because take-back is not possible without the collaboration of the whole ecosystem surrounding the companies. So you have to activate collaborations with, for example, with reverse logistics companies, non-profit organizations, technology companies, and so on. And you also have to involve consumers in this practice, and this can also help to help your reputation at the eyes of the consumers. And finally, the last chapter is about the regulatory, administrative, and structural ecosystem. Well, I will not go into details because we already talked about that in the morning session, but it is compliant with the EPR, ESPR, the Digital Product Passport, and so on. And it is also an opportunity to obtain some types of incentives and eventually, and possibly also financial incentives. Yes, you can find a lot of best practices in these documents, so you can take inspiration from other companies who already implemented the take-back scheme, and I invite you to download it and to, yes, to take into consideration this practice in your company. Yes, that's all.
Go directly. Yeah.
Okay. Hello, good afternoon to everybody. I'm going to present the FurnCIRCLE Handbook. It's one of the key outcomes of this project. It has been a collaboration, a quite large collaboration. We have involved a dozen of experts in this exercise. And in relation to the content of this and the aim especially, well, the aim is to support, let's say, stakeholders, workers, also owners of companies, professionals working in the sector, on a first stage to understand which is the difference between a linear system and a circular system, between a linear economy and circular economy. That is basic. This is the first step to do. But after that, we go deeper. So we try to help all these stakeholders, all these professionals, to understand and to decide how they can really make real this transition from a linear to a circular model. The current version is a preliminary version, but indeed at the end of this month, we are going to have the final version. Now I'm going deeper in the content. The good thing also for EFIC members is that it will be available in 10 languages. It has been prepared in English, but then we will have also the version in German, French, Italian, Spanish, Polish, Dutch, Portuguese, Romanian, and Bulgarian. About the content, there are a few introductory parts, like acknowledgement, summary, introduction. It's a short analysis of the status of the furniture sector. But then we start with the analysis of the circular economy. So as I said, which is the transition from the linear to the circular one, the life cycle approach, but also to identify which are the benefits for companies to adopt this transition, to implement this transition at environmental, social, and of course at economical level. Of course, we refer also to the innovative business models that require to be adopted by companies if we want really to have a circular system, a circular economy affecting all the steps of the companies. Then we focus the attention on circular design. As you probably know, the 80% of the circularity of a product is decided at design level. So a huge amount of circularity is decided at the very first stage. Then we do an analysis also of the environmental system, impact assessment systems. We touch the environmental checklist, the eco-design strategy, the MET, the matrix material energy toxicity, the standard eco-indicators, and finally, the life cycle assessment. And then we have the part 8 of the guide, that indeed is the most important part of this strategy. We divide it in 6 parts, considering the whole cycle of the company. So we analyze the design phase, the material resources, the production, the distribution, the use, and finally the end of life of the product. I'm going deeper now in that. And then a final part about the regulations. So all of this is based on a Canva business model that has been adapted by a previous project that was FurnCSR. Here we analyze all this, let's say, the steps, the parts of the companies or the processes of the companies that are relevant in relation to the transformation toward a circular economy. Then it's important to highlight that the guide is not really only a text guide. It's not only written text, but there are a lot of diagrams, figures that try to simplify the understanding, but also the implementation of all these changes, all these strategies. And then let's go to the 8th part. I need to reduce to be quick. So I will not mention all the strategies, but we have identified 30 different strategies that can be adopted, that can be deployed by the companies to complete, to start, to implement, and try to complete all the circularity transformation. Many of them are more internal, they follow the different phases that I previously mentioned. So they are very different among them. And what is relevant here is that for each of these 30 strategies, we have done also a specific analysis, a short one. For each one of these, there is a short description. There is a graphic identifying which is the relation also with the other steps or with the other blocks of the canvas. And then also we identify the level of difficulty to implement this strategy. I mean, if a company hasn't experience on circularity, the best thing to do is to start with the easiest, with the most simple solution that we can offer in relation to the strategies. And then the other important thing, I think, for companies is to have a list of case studies and good practices implemented by companies of the sector. We have more than 400 cases, so there is a lot of inspiring material over there. And finally, we see how the EU regulations are related to each one of these strategies. In some cases, there is this relation. In some other cases, there is not this relation. I just show you some examples. This is about inclusive design, and this one is about avoidance of surface treatment and toxic substances. And all of them have all these parts mentioned before. And then finally, we have this part with the relevant regulations. So we identify several regulations, and for each of them, we do a small analysis, meaning we understand, we show which is the level, which is the type of regulation, which is the level of progress. If it's just a regulation, a directive, or voluntary, it requires just a voluntary applications. The status, if it's at proposal state or if it's approved, so it's compulsory for companies. Then the documents or references, so the legal documents that explain detailing the content of these regulations. A short summary, just to shortly understand which are the basic rules and the important aspects. But then finally, we have a specific part related with the impact of this regulation on the furniture companies. And I think that is very relevant to have it. Okay, and that's all. The last part is, sorry. The guide will be completed with these parts, like skills need and recommendation in relation to vet providers, but also other stakeholders, companies, the blueprint proposal that I just presented, Georgia, and the recommendation for sector stakeholders to facilitate all these processes. And then annexes with all the 400 good practices, the online tool that Julio is going to present right now, the company testimonials that have tested this tool, and then the results of this pilot test. Okay? And that's all now. Yes?
Okay, so let's continue. Good afternoon, everyone. In that case, I'm going to briefly present a second, or not a second, the third key outcome of this project, that is this self-assessment tool. In this project, we also have developed this self-assessment tool, and the purpose, the aim of this tool is to allow companies to determine their circularity maturity index. And also, the purpose of the tool is to support them in improving their performance towards circularity. The tool is available in 12 European languages. The structure of the tool is very simple and very clear. It only contains 3 steps. So as you can read, the 3 steps is answer, assess, and improve. Obviously, before using the tool, you must register in the tool with very basic information. And then once you are logged into the tool is when the first step is to answer some questions about your operations, your practices in relation to circular economy. In total, 57 questions. You can stop the process at any moment. The information, your answers are going to be stored in the tool. And the good thing is the questions are, or the answers are multiple choice. So you only have to choose between 6 options, the most adequate answer for your case. Once you have answered all these questions, you are going to get some indexes, some results, okay? A global result, so in that case we can see an example of a company, and in that case the circularity maturity level is 31%, so between 0 and 100 the score of this company is 31. That is not bad, because we consider that a company is performing medium between 25 and 75, and over 75 is that your performance in relation to circularity is good. But apart of having this global index, you also have indexes for the different phases. So you can see your position, your performance, your behavior in relation to materials, design, production, etc. Okay? And the last step is to improve. So it's good to know your situation, your assessment, but then you need inspiration for improving. And this is the third step of the tool. Here, if you enter into the different steps, you are going to get a detailed analysis. So in that case, you can see your performance in some of the in some design, circular design strategies. For example, in that case, you can see that in relation to your packaging reduction, your performance is very good, but in the other cases, for example, in the selection of the materials, you have a bad performance. And there, you also, if you click on these strategies, you are going to get information about how to apply, how to deploy these strategies. And the last, and in our opinion, the best thing is also in each of these strategies, you have access to a collection, to a set of real good practices of companies. So you can see which companies are applying these strategies. So in total, the tool has more than 400 real case studies. The last thing is a repository with all the circular design strategies and good practices, and you can apply filters and get information for that. And my last slide is to a resource connected to the previous topic. So it's good to have inspiration about how to apply circular economy, but it's also to know how to apply this. And in that case, we have developed under the umbrella of this project of Flyer an online training course addressed for circular furniture designers. As you can see, this course has been developed with the collaboration of other entities, Ambit, 3 clusters of the EFIC cluster of clusters, CSM, cluster Leño Arredo Casa, the Slovenian cluster, and a university, an Irish university, ATU. And as you can see, the course contains 4 basic modules. 1 dedicated to design, another to legislation, another to voluntary instruments, and another to communication. So we consider that these tools, the take-back scheme recommendations, the circular economy guide, this self-assessment tool, and this course are good resources for companies if you are interested in deploying circular economy practices. That's all from me. So thank you very much.